Welcome to another episode of Room for a Podcast. I am Brittany and have another amazing guest on today's episode.
Hey.
You're not gonna introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Nakia. I know you probably still call me Chandrea, but
Yeah.
either one is fine.
Okay. Cool. But yeah, so this is a important episode. I've been on Nakia. I call you Nakia since what freshman year of college. Um, we're two different people now. That was like ages ago. So we both have grown and developed and all that. And also, so I got on the episode because I noticed that like a few years ago, like you were battling cancer, and you won the battle on that, and it's like super amazing. And the whole like that journey, like I was watching from afar, just on social media, but you were always like positive, like not giving up hope. So I just want to dig into like how did you have like the amazing, like that solid faith foundation that you had? Because most people, you know, something happens, something things come up in their life, and then they just kind of pretty much like throw in the towel. But it seemed like you're like a legit fighter. You're a mom. You're a wife. Like you have all these different titles, these hats. You wear these different hats. So let's dig into it.
Yeah, let's get right into it. No, it was definitely like a kick in my chest when I first
Hmm.
got the diagnosis because I was diagnosed in February of 2021, and in 2018, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it was kind of like a shock to me, because she was in her 50s when this happened. And so I'm only 28. I'm like, yeah, like that doesn't even sound right. Like that can't be it. And with in the black community, period, we take our health serious, but when it's something that we know is probably wrong, we're like, yeah, I'm gonna just ignore this. So I definitely
Hmm.
ignored it for a couple weeks. I was like, oh, this is probably just a pulled muscle. Let me take some Tylenol, some ibuprofen. It'll go away. Because my daughter, she was only 2 years old at the time, so we were just ending breastfeeding with her. So I was like, maybe it's just dried up milk, like just trying to make excuses for it. But in the end, I was like, let me just go to the doctor. Let me see how this is gonna go. And so I went to my primary care, who was like, well, maybe it's just a fibroid. She was a black woman as well. And she was like, no, you're
Hmm.
too young for breast cancer. Maybe it's just a fibroid. Just wait it out, come back and see me. So I'm like, okay, if the doctor says it's nothing, then it's probably nothing. But another 2 weeks went by. It still didn't go away. And so at that point, she was like, yeah, like, let's go do an ultrasound. Let's do a biopsy. And so I went to all of these doctor's appointments alone because of the COVID restrictions. Like you can't take, anyone with you. So
Hmm.
I'm literally never had a mammogram before, never had a biopsy before. Don't, only ultrasound I had was when I was pregnant. So I'm like, all of this is these doctors coming in. I'm confused. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm like, I kind of want to know what's going on. Like they're looking kind of serious when they're, feeling around. So I'm like,
Yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, I kind of know what's about to happen, but I really, really wasn't prepared. So it was a lot of prayer going on, like with my mom. My mom, she told me that she kind of knew exactly what it was because she had already went down that path of like all these biopsies and appointments and stuff, but she didn't want to scare me. So she didn't tell me what she
Hmm.
kind of already knew what it was. So it was once they finally called me and diagnosed me with breast cancer, I was like at a loss for words. It was, yeah, it was intense.
So you say your daughter she was 2 at the time, and you thought it was like breastfeeding. Like, so what? Do you mind explaining what this like the symptoms were, and when did you like first notice it? Like, was it prolonged? And then like, if you look back on it, was it something that you noticed maybe 6 months prior, or like how was that
Yeah,
process, and
so
what was
it
the
was
symptoms?
it was pretty fast actually. I think I found the lump on my own, or I always say that my daughter found it. Because she was taking a nap with me like we always do, and like she got up one day and I was like, ouch, like something hurts right here. Like
Hmm.
I was like, either she got a big head or something. Like I don't know what's going on. So that's when like I said, I started just taking Tylenols because I was like, maybe it's just sore. But then when I would take a shower, I was like that definitely feels like a lump, or like I said, like a dried up milk duct or something like that. Because I've had that happen before during breastfeeding. So I was like, maybe it's just that. And I know that they say when you have like a milk duct, clogged milk duct, like you can massage it, you can put like a warm
Mm-hmm.
towel on it. So these are things that I was doing because I thought, it can't possibly be something other than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would say I did that for about a good 2 or 3 weeks before I actually went to my primary care. That's when she told me to just keep an eye on it. So that was like another 2 weeks. So from February to like the end of March is where it was a tumor and it was growing because I wasn't sure what it was.
Mm. So you say your mother was diagnosed in 2018. Was
Hmm.
her process similar, like the same type of speed? Noticing the lump and then a few months
Yeah, so
later.
she noticed it on her own as well, but hers was located under her arm. So she's a mail carrier. So she was like, this is the same arm that I carry my mail bag on. So again,
Mm.
maybe it's just a pull muscle. Maybe is we're also like working out in the gym. So she was
Yeah.
like, maybe it's just from that push-ups. So again, she was taking Tylenol, taking ibuprofen just to see if it will go away. I think she waited a little bit longer than I did. I think maybe like a month or two to see if it will go away. But like when I thought back to her process, that's why I was like, it's been 2 weeks. Let me go to the doctor as soon as possible.
And it must have been super scary for you, like for one, you're young, and then you have a daughter and a husband, so it's all these like racing thoughts. But again, I don't know what was going on in your personal life, but again, from outside looking in, you had like a ton of faith, and that's amazing on its own right there. And the fact that it was during COVID, you couldn't even have anyone in the rooms with you, and like
Right.
again, like in our communities, in the black and brown or black folks, black people, it's like for one, we don't really we go to the doctor, but we don't really. It
Mhm.
depends. Like if it's something
Mhm.
serious, we might go, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it's like let me take some ibuprofen, some Tylenol. I'll be okay. Let me drink a ginger ale.
Yeah, of
Things
course.
like
Let me
that.
go get some ginger ale, some crackers. It'll be gone.
And so your mom had it. Did anyone else in your family have it? Like, does it run in your family, or is this like something newer that came about?
And that's the thing. So they have this testing called BRCA testing, BRCA. I don't know what it stands for, but it tests the genetics for different types of cancer.
Hmm.
And so they tested my mom, and hers came back negative. They were like, "No, you don't have the gene for breast cancer to have been passed on to your daughter." They tested me; it also came back negative. So now we're at the point where like, okay, there has to be some other type of gene that doctors obviously don't know about yet that isn't on that BRCA test, because it has to be something for, for her to have it, for myself to have had it. My aunties did not have it. My grandma passed away when I was in college, and she started showing symptoms of breast cancer, but she was already sick from having a stroke years prior to that. So they
Hmm.
never fully diagnosed her with breast cancer. So we still don't know. But yeah, they told us that the genetic testing came back negative. So that's another mystery.
That's insane because the past maybe year or so, I just been like digging deep into like like where I come from, and like how certain tests and medication it was never tested on like brown people.
Hmm.
So some things that might affect us, it won't show up, or certain tests that people take for genetics, it doesn't show up because it was never tested for
Hmm.
brown people. So that just got me thinking about you took this test, this genetic test, and it was like, oh, your mom don't have it, and then you took the test, and like, oh, you don't have the gene either, but it came from somewhere.
Yep.
Um, but also like again, been doing a ton of research and reading and all that, and like some of like the foods or like the chemicals that we use on a day to day basis, like the different soaps, different food we eat, has like all these chemicals in it that creates illnesses. And I'm just like, man, like what am I
Hmm.
eating? What soap
Hmm.
I'm gonna use? Because all this stuff is like slowly like deteriorating, our health.
Hmm.
But so you found out you had it, you were diagnosed, and then what was the process like after that? Because again, you have a 2-year-old daughter. Like,
So yeah, so after that, so we're here in Nashville, and so my primary care, she referred me to St. Thomas Hospital here in Nashville. And so at the time, like when you're going through the process, you're like, okay, should I get a second opinion? Because you know there's a Vanderbilt hospital that's really big here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, let me go and just get a second opinion from a hospital that has a bigger name, blah blah blah. But I didn't even end up going there. So I stayed with the hospital that my doctor referred, and I'm glad I did because once I went to go see my oncologist, she like literally had a plan out for me. She was like, this is when we need to start. This is the medicine that you're going to be on. This is how it's going to affect you. So she was really, really knowledgeable, like really good with explaining it to me. She even let my husband come in and explain it to him just to kind of like ease his thoughts. So
Mm-hmm.
it like, I think they diagnosed me in April officially, and I had my first chemo treatment in June, the beginning of June. So it was like really fast. And like, you know, a 2 month span time, I went from a mom ready to plan my wedding to now I gotta stop all of that and think about how this is gonna affect my life because I had no idea what was about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Because for my mom, when she went through chemo, she was still able to go to work. She lost her hair, you know, the normal side effects of chemo, you lose all your hair and all of that, but she was still able to go to work. She was gaining weight, all of this stuff. As soon as my first treatment in June, my hair started falling out. I lost like 30 pounds. Fingernails were falling off. So it was completely different from her. So it again in that moment, I'm like, oh crap, like is this like, you know, finna affect me worse? Is it gonna get worse and worse? Or
Mm-hmm.
I really wasn't sure how that was gonna play out.
So how what? So when all the side effects started to come about, how did you keep your like? How did you keep your faith, and how did you just keep a positive attitude and like deal with your emotions, but still push through? Like I'm gonna get through this. And you must have had a village, you know, like surrounded by a village to give you some extra support and love and like hugs,
Yes,
things that you need
yes.
to get through a scary time.
Yeah, so I had so my husband and I were both from Memphis, but we were here in Nashville. And it was just us and our daughter. So he was working from home. I actually was still working. Even at my chemo treatments, I would take my laptop and like try to have my Zoom background so they wouldn't see that I'm like at the hospital. So it was crazy, but my mom would come, my mother-in-law would come up and they would help us out, cook us dinner. We have friends up here that would come by and babysit. So if it wasn't for them, like surrounding us with that love and support, like I don't know how I would have made it through. Because like I said, even though I was scared, it was like, okay, either I'm gonna lean on God the way that He is pushing me to, like He's showing me, like, hey, I got this. Either you're gonna
Hmm.
trust me or you're not gonna trust me. And even in the midst of that, even in the midst of like me being afraid, I was like, it's really out of my control. That's really what I had to do. I had to literally give up control and just let Him do His thing.
That's how it goes, you know.
Yeah, yeah, He
Acceptance
will
and like
sit you
relinquish the
down.
control. Yes. Humble you real quick. Like,
Yes,
hey, I told you I got this. I understand. I understand.
yes.
So you were working. Were you working the whole time, or did you eventually take like a break towards the end? Or
So I had actually, yeah. So I was. It's crazy. My mom is a hypocrite because she's like, girl, you need to just lay down. But I'm like, but you still went to work, so I still want to go to work. So I was working the whole time. I was working from home, so that was good. But also just going through that, it's like, yes, I'm battling breast cancer, but I don't want to just sit at home and be thinking about that the whole time. So I'm the type of person like I just got to stay busy. So
hmm
I was at work or, going to meetings, but I was still taking my lunch breaks. I even told my employer at the time, my manager, I was like, this is what I'm dealing with at the moment. So she was like, if you need to take extra breaks during the day, just let me know. I'll let everyone know, like, hey, don't message Nakia right now. She's offline. She didn't really like tell them what I was going through, but she was very supportive. So that was another good thing for me, to being able to work, like I said, and keep busy and still be dealing with what I was going through.
That's amazing having an employer that understands and well, and not even that understands, but giving you the time to do what you need to do without like hounding you. Like when you coming back, did you do this
Yeah,
report? I know you don't feel good, but like,
yeah,
so that's
yeah.
cool. Are you still employed with them now?
I am not. The crazy thing is, so I'm no longer at that job, but I was still doing interviews during the chemo treatments, and so I started it. I know, right? I sound crazy. I sound crazy. Like God is like, okay, sit your butt down somewhere, and I'm like, but I gotta stay busy. So I started another job, and I was upfront with them in my interview, and another blessing, like the lady that interviewed me, she was like, "Oh my gosh, like I went through breast cancer, so I completely understand like everything you're going through." I was towards the end of my chemo treatments at that point, so I had like a little bit more energy. But
Hmm.
she was completely understanding because she had been through it. So, like I said, another blessing for to have another employer be so understanding.
That the wait, so she went through it too. It's like you probably would have never known if you weren't honest and vulnerable. Like, hey,
Exactly.
this is what I'm going through,
Exactly.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. We had like, I don't even think we were doing the interview anymore. Like, we were comparing chemo treatment stories and like diagnosis. So, yeah. So, I'm still at that job. Yes.
Oh, cool, cool. So were there I know sometimes they have like support groups like for sobriety. I'm sober. I mean you probably saw it on Facebook, but we there's support groups. So were you
Mhm.
attending like support groups for chemo or breast cancer? I'm not sure if they have them in Nashville.
They do with the hospital, but the weird thing about it was I could have just been in my own head and it probably would have been best for me to do that, but I was literally the youngest person walking into these treatments. And
Mhm.
so that alone just made me go into my shell. I'm like, okay, so like I didn't even really talk to the other patients there, which I wish I would have now. But at that moment, you're like, I don't want to bother them. Like I know what I'm going through. I can't even imagine what they might be going through. They might be exhausted. Like everyone in there is like tired and sleepy. Like, so
Mhm.
I really didn't go to the support groups. What I did do was I documented my journey on YouTube.
Mhm.
So I had so many comments on YouTube from different women all over just telling me like about themselves, about their daughters, about other family members that went through breast cancer. And so I even made a few friends like on Instagram that went through breast cancer or are going through breast cancer. I've had friends reach out to me for their family members. So I kind of made my own support group,
Mhm.
which was still really cool. Like I still have people come to me like, can I ask you any questions? I'm like, yeah, like ask me whatever you want to. So I definitely made my own support group.
That's cool. Cause I was gonna say like, was there any extra support? But you just explained it. So the ones that was in Nashville, you said they were all older people. Did you ever go to any of them, or you just like when you went to chemo, you saw that they were all older people?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I didn't really go to any of them. Like I said, they were older. There wasn't even really that many black people in there. Like they were literally older white women, older white men. The chemo center was for different reasons, so it wasn't just cancer. They were coming to get like with transfusions of different
Hmm.
sorts. So a lot of them were there for different reasons. But just being the youngest person in there, I was like, yeah, I'ma just get my treatment
Yeah.
and go home.
I understand. But like I feel like if there's a support group, people are there, because they want to be there to help support. Because like for me, when I first started getting sober, the first meeting I went to, it was like all older white dudes, like older, and they were talking about their experiences, and I was like, I don't have like I don't relate to these people.
Right.
And then eventually I end up finding like my tribe, and also just being able to hear the message and not compare because yeah, I needed it bad.
Yeah, no, I definitely
But you
understand.
got your
That's why
own
I'm like,
community though.
yeah, like I wish I would have, and I'm pretty sure they would have had stories, that I could have related to. But in the midst of it, I was just like, I'm just trying to get through what I'm trying to get through. Like I just don't even want to. And a lot of times, like I didn't even want to not talk about it, but it was just scared to like see that that was my reality. Like,
Hmm.
like I would see it in the mirror, but like just going out and trying to be normal, quote unquote, I was like, I don't want to talk about it. Like I'm supposed to be having a hot girl summer right now. Like That's not what I want to talk about. So it was like I literally had an internal conflict with myself every day. Like my husband is like, babe, go take a nap, go rest. And I'm like, no, I got energy. Like, so it was definitely like a hard time fighting with myself.
Did you do any like personal journaling or the stuff that's on YouTube? Were you like brutally honest about everything on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, I tried to be. And this may sound crazy, but I haven't even gone back to look at any of those videos. Once I posted them, I posted them. So I kind of kept it as a diary, even though it was public. I kind of kept it as a diary. For one, the main reason was I was like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I want my daughter to be able to see my journey. I want her to be able to see
Hmm.
what I, went through. So that was the main reason. And like I said, I really wasn't doing it for the support and for the comments, for the likes. I really just wanted it just to, like I said, be a diary for me and for my daughter in the future. And so I would journal. I'm not really a journaler or writer, but I did journal sometimes, like when I was just in my own head. It was just best
Hmm.
to kind of write my thoughts out. So I did do it most times.
Yeah, because like when you, for me, I know for myself, if I'm thinking about something and it's like the internal battle, and once I put it on paper, I can sort through like what's false and what's crazy, and like kind of like just basically put it all out, pour my like empty my cup out, and then sort out whatever I'm thinking or feeling to
Hmm.
realize like, okay, this is like insane and it's not true. This is a
Hmm.
false narrative. And let me just put it on paper to get rid of it, you know. But video journaling is pretty cool as well. Like my wife, she does that. She'll do some video journaling. I hear her talking about, you say something? She's like, no, I'm talking to myself. So that's
Yes,
cool. And
it
I'm
was
sure like
definitely helpful.
the people who like watch your videos and reach out, like you helping them because they could be in the same situation where like, oh well, I'm young and I don't want to bother anybody, but they see your journey and then you're inspiring them, give them hope. Like, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't have to be like I'm gonna be gone. Like she made it through. She survived. She's been optimistic about it and brutally honest, and she made it through. You helping a lot of people on your
That
journey.
was and that became my or not really a goal, but like that was a thought in my mind as I was continuing to make those videos. Because definitely at the beginning, it was like I said, just like a journal, just a diary. And then as I would go to my appointments, I would try to record, or like I said, I had an appointment where three of my fingernails fell off, and so I recorded that process. Like I'm like,
Hmm.
this is what it looks like. Like this is the doctor may have to do this. This may not be for this may not happen to everyone, but if it does, this is what it will look like. So I really did start to find like kind of, I guess say like a release as I was
Hmm.
recording it. I was able to like get my thoughts out, get some anxiety out, and know that there were certain women that were actually like looking forward to my videos that were going through it. So it definitely became a positive.
Because also, like, you could be thinking something, right? I saw it on, I think, Facebook or something. Maybe it was Facebook. You could be thinking something and just say the thought was like this big in your head, but then once you say it or write it down, now it's out in the open and like this little compared to the open space around you. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting when it's in your head. It's
Mm-hmm.
big because your head is only this. Your head is smaller and your thought this big, but then you get it out there, it's comparatively small and unimportant.
Yeah.
So how
Yes.
long
Yes.
how long did you go through? Did you have any surgeries, and how long did it take to what is it? What's not defeated, but what's what I'm looking for? Is it defeat?
To be completed basically. So yeah, I'm in remission basically. And so my chemo treatments lasted 6 months. And I believe it was 6 months. It was from June to October. And so I went to them every 3 weeks.
Hmm.
And after that, I still had to do a full year of what they called, what did they call it? Immunotherapy.
Hmm.
And so that was different from chemotherapy, but it was still like making sure that the chemo wouldn't come back or the cancer wouldn't come back. So yeah, so it was a full year of that. And then at the end of that is when I had a double mastectomy. So that was a whole nother journey because now I can no longer breastfeed. So I'm still internally dealing with that as well, because me and my husband definitely want to have more kids, but
Mm-hmm.
knowing that I breastfed my first daughter for 2 years and now I won't have that anymore, it's kind of still hard. But I'm praying on it every day just to kind of like get me past that, because I'm like, as long as my future children come out healthy, then that's fine with me. And so after that, yeah, then I had reconstruction. So now I'm at the end of it. I don't have any more appointments, any more treatments. I do still go and get normal checkups,
Mm-hmm.
every 6 months. But yeah, that was almost like a full year and a half journey.
Mm. And so, do you mind if we talk about you have some kind of like internal battle with not being able to breastfeed? So, like,
Hmm.
what's your biggest concern? Is it because you're used to it because your daughter, breastfed for 2 years? Like what's the
It
biggest
was
issue for you?
really, it was really just the bonding that I had with my daughter. It was just like knowing that I was the one, that could nurture her or feed her at the time. And
Hello.
for those 2 years, like, she barely had any illnesses. She was barely sick, and the doctors were always like, "Oh, she's doing so great. Like, it's the breast."
No, so like the video went out. I thought like I thought it hung up, so I stopped recording. I just started back
Oh,
recording.
okay,
I'm gonna
okay,
keep all this in, so it's all good. Keep it
okay.
raw and vulnerable. But the last thing I heard was it was like a bonding moment, and then it went
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
so breastfeeding for me was just that bonding time with my daughter. Knowing, like, from the time that I had her for those 2 years, she probably ate like bananas as she got older, but like she literally was just breastfed for those two
Hmm.
years fully. And like I said, she never really had any illnesses, any sicknesses. The doctors were like, "Oh, she's perfectly healthy, like she's growing just as she should be." So that just made me feel good, like, as a mom, like, okay, I'm doing my job, my body's doing this job. And
Hmm.
so now it's just like, you can't do that anymore. And so it's just like, just, little negative thoughts in your head, but it's like, that's not the end of the world, is what I tell myself. Like, it's not the end of
Yeah.
the world that you can breastfeed. As long as, your future children come out healthy, and that's really what's most important. So it's just that one small thing for me. Like you said, that one small thought can, like, kind of explode when you say it out loud, but it's just kind of like making sure that I kind of calm those thoughts down, telling myself, like I said, like, it's not the end of the world if you can't breastfeed anymore. It's okay. Like, some
Hmm.
women can't breastfeed at all, and they still are great mothers. Like, that doesn't make me a bad mother, basically, is what I tell myself.
Yeah, I heard you say it was like liquid gold, and it is
Yeah.
because, like again, some others can't breastfeed, whatever, and babies who got two fathers, like my wife, she was a surrogate in 2021. No, 2022 she gave birth to the baby. She was a surrogate, and the baby she has two dads. So my wife pumped, but like it was difficult with pumping because like it's different from pumping versus like the baby trying to get the
Hmm.
milk. And when she pushed the baby out, the first thing was off top was like she's not gonna breastfeed the baby because you don't want to do like that bonding
Yeah.
moment with the baby or with her because it's not our baby, so we don't want to have no
Hmm.
kind of like attachment,
Hmm.
emotional attachment that was going to be too like insane. So off top was like, all right, when the baby come out, no breastfeeding. But when she had our daughter, baby came out, she breastfed the baby, whatever, and the Lord breastfed for like about a year, and she wasn't really sick either, like healthy baby. But with the surrogate baby, she was pumping, and it was kind of difficult for the milk to drop because she was only pumping and not breastfeeding with the baby naturally.
Oh, I think it froze.
Yeah, so I think I was saying, oh yeah, so because she wasn't breastfeeding with the baby, she was using a pump or whatever. It was like difficult for the milk to drop the initial. And what is it called? I forgot. It's like the stuff, like the pre milk. It's not milk, but it's
The
like
colostrum.
colostrum. Yes, it's
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
keeps the baby like super healthy and it's healthy
Mhm.
in general. And initially, it was hard to get that out. And
Mhm.
she wasted. She like the thing fell, whatever. She had a whole meltdown. I'm like,
Oh
I don't
my
know what to do.
gosh.
I don't have, I've never had pregnancy hormones. I've never,
Oh my
pumped, so I don't
goodness.
understand what it's like to waste milk. She had a whole meltdown. But anyway, eventually she was pumping. But I only said that to say I understand like where the you mentioned the bonding part, but I'm sure there's like other ways to bond, and also other mothers who went through the same procedure who have kids can talk about
Mm-hmm.
their experience on how they, different ways of bonding. And also, if no one posted that on your journey, I'm sure you're gonna post about how you found ways to bond with your child, because
Of course.
information is power, and people hold on. Like, things happen in our lives, and people don't talk about it, but
Mm-hmm.
talking about it helps the next person get through it,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps you like to like let go of the icky feeling about it, because you talk about it, you realize, like, it's not that serious,
Mm-hmm.
and the other person actually benefits from hearing your story, or like the situation.
Yep, that's definitely kind of where I'm getting to that point of like, okay, it's not that serious. You like I said, you're not a bad mother just because you can't do this one thing. Like it's okay. They have moms like your wife that can pump and even donate breast
Hmm.
milk. So that's definitely options that me and my husband have talked about. Formula, I mean, isn't completely off, off our list of things that options that we have. So there are other ways. So I'm slowly, pushing that thought out of my mind.
Yeah, and also, I'm not gonna say it's not that serious. To you, it's serious, so the
Yeah.
feeling has to be validated. But then it's
Mhm.
like, okay, it's serious, but they're also finding ways to like make it smaller. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
making
Like
a huge thought to
slowly,
like
like,
real
okay, it's
small.
all right. It's okay. You'll get through it. Basically, just like I did with breast cancer, I will get through it. So that's what I keep telling myself.
Yeah, and then even battling breast cancer, I'm sure they like, again. I always go back to faith and how you kept your positive attitude. I'm sure that when other obstacles come up in your life, you're just like, man, this is small. Like, I
Oh
dealt with
my
something
gosh.
way more bigger, harder. Like,
Yes.
I can deal with this.
Yes. Like, oh yeah. You don't even know. Like I don't even. I try not to complain. Of course, I might be like, "Oh my gosh, today was so hard." But at the end of the day, like when I'm in the shower is when I'm my most vulnerable. That's when I have my praise breaks. I have my gospel music going. So I'm like, today wasn't that bad. God, I'm thankful. Like you got me through it. We've been through much worse together. You got me through much worse. So this isn't anything too hard for you. So I know that tomorrow will be better. Like I start doing positive affirmations. Tomorrow will be better. I'll get through the next day. So I'm definitely a lot more positive with my thinking now. I had a counselor after chemo because it was still a point where I was like, okay, I feel like I'm in this new body. Like, I don't know this person. I'm done with chemo, but I'm still waiting for like my hair to grow back. I still look different in the mirror to myself after the surgery. So it was even that part of the phase was very difficult. So I'm like, okay, God, we done got through the tough part. Now, I don't want to focus too much on the physical on the outside. So I'm just asking you to help me get through this part of it. So I know he was like, "Ooh, girl, like you need a lot," but but he was definitely like by my side the whole entire way. Like it was tough.
I'm sure your God wasn't like, you need a lot. Probably more like, oh, thank you for coming to me. Thank you for
Yeah,
turning this over to me. Because some
yeah,
people will hold it and they turn to
yeah.
bag lady, like Erica Badu.
Hmm. Yeah, he's like, oh, that's all you need. Like, I've been waiting on you to ask me for something. Like, I've been waiting on you to like trust in me for this. So it was definitely that. It was definitely that.
So you say you were doing like affirmations and stuff like that. Did it? You did affirmations and you turned it over to your creator. You prayed about it, but still, how difficult was it to like relinquish? Like, okay, this is the new reality,
It
or was it
it
like this?
No, not at all. I wish, but
Okay.
it was a journey. Like everything that you go through, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen overnight. There are still moments where I have those flashbacks. So I'm like, oh, I wish I looked like my older self, or I wish I had my hair was longer back then. But then it's like, okay, do you want to go back to that and then go through breast cancer all over again, or do you want to keep pushing forward? And so that's where I'm at with it. Like God is like, no, this is a new beginning for you. This is a new chapter. We're not thinking about the old chapter no more. That's the old you.
Hmm.
So that's really where I'm at. Like every day, I'm like, okay, one day at a time, basically, one day at a time. I'm praying about it. My daughter is healthy. That was 2 years ago for her. She'll never fully remember what I went through.
Hmm.
She was with me with my bald head and everything, and I was afraid for her to be like, "Oh, who is this?" Like I thought she was gonna look at me crazy, and that's another part of like, we put these thoughts into our head. And so I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, she's not gonna love me the same, or she's not gonna look at me the same. She was putting Minnie Mouse stickers on my head, like, "Oh, Mama, you cute." Like she knew, and she didn't forget who I was. And for some reason, I felt like, oh, she's not gonna remember what I look like. And so it's really our own fault. Like we're really our own worst critics. And so God is like,
Mhm.
okay, when you get done dealing with all of that, like remember what I can do for you, remember what I have done for you, and remember that
Mhm.
I can do so much more. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, kids like they can smell their mama walk in the house. Your kid could be upstairs in the room, and the mama walk in the house downstairs, and the kid will smell it like a
Like,
little cat or
yeah.
something.
She was like, "Oh no, you look cute." Like, I'm like, okay. So it was tough. Like I said, that internal conflict, that little voice in your head, those self doubts, all of that is like, it's us. It's in us. And
Mhm.
so it's also in us to turn it off and to turn on the positivity, the positive thoughts.
Definitely. It's just like rewiring our brain because most of like our belief systems, our thoughts, all this stuff has been like basically ingrained into us from a kid
Mm-hmm.
growing up, from things we watch, things we hear, behaviors we see that we're around. And as an adult, it's like it's up to us to be like, okay, why do I think this way? Why
Mm-hmm.
am I constantly doing the same behavior if I know it's not good for me? Where is it coming from? Where is
Yep.
this behavior stemming from? It's like identifying it and then rewiring how you talk to yourself, how you behave, and how you do things. Because that's how you move forward.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you be stagnant in self
Yeah.
hate, self turmoil. When there's most times the internal battle can be dissolved quickly. All we gotta do is
Instantly.
switch,
Yeah.
shift the mindset,
Yeah,
shift the
and
way we
like I
talk to
said,
ourselves.
it's tough. It really is because, like I said, you can be your own worst critic, and it really, like, it isn't necessary to be so hard on yourself. And that was one of the things that everyone kept telling me. They were like, "Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace." Oh my gosh, I really should get that tattooed on me, like because everyone kept telling me that. Because I don't know if you were following me before when I was working out in like 2017. Like I was in the gym
I
every,
think
like
we've been
five
we, we've
days a
been our
week.
friends. We've been friends on Facebook since TSU. So
Yeah, like I was in the gym for a while, and so well, like I said, when I started chemo and I lost all this muscle and I lost all this weight, I was like, oh my gosh, like people are gonna look at me differently. They're gonna be like, oh, like what happened? I was looking at myself differently, and nobody said anything. Everyone was literally so positive. Everyone was so
hmm
nice. They were so just considerate of everything that I was going through. They were caring, and it was me being hard on myself. And so give yourself grace is the one thing that is like ingrained in my brain right now as I'm still continuing, my journey through remission right now.
definitely grace. 'Cause we be so hard on ourselves. I'm guilty of it too.
Yes,
Like
yes.
I'm so guilty. Like I think I mentioned it on no, not on Facebook. Maybe I don't know. On other episodes, I mentioned how like my sister passed away. Not my blood sister, but I've been on her since she was like 10, 11, maybe. Her and my younger sister were best friends. But anyway, her and my brother had 3 kids together. She passed away in March. Brain aneurysm, like just
Mm,
one. It was unexpected. She passed away, and me and my wife took in my 2 nieces and my nephew. So now we went from a household of 1 kid to a household of 4 kids, and that was from March up
mm-hmm.
to now. And I was like we doing it. I was just like, man, this is difficult. This is challenging, and I look back like, man, I should be able to do X, Y, Z, all the things I was doing before when I had, extra time. And then my
Mm-hmm.
wife, she's more, I can say softer, but she's more of a nurturer. She's like, you gotta give yourself some grace because things are different.
Yeah.
You only have 24 hours in a day. And if you're going to beat yourself up for 6 of those hours, like, what's the point,
Yes. Yes. My husband's
comparing
the
it.
same way. Yeah, he's like, just give yourself grace. Like you don't have to rush and get back into the gym. Like, and it's never gonna go back to how it was. And that's
hmm
another thing that we have to accept. Like, I'm never going to go back to what that was. Like, every day is a new day. I'm moving forward, and but I can create. a new version of me, a better version of
Mm-hmm.
me than I was before. And so that's, like I said, it's hard. It's hard giving up your old life. Like, I remember I could do this. I remember I could do that. But it's like, okay, and what? You can't go back to it. So
Mm-hmm.
either you're going to keep pushing forward or you're going to keep spending your days worrying about the past.
Yeah. Yearning for something that you ain't gonna ever get back because you can't go
Never,
back in time. But you
never.
can create a new reality. You can create what you want your life to look like, and especially
Exactly.
like you went through this, this huge change, huge shift in your life. And I'm sure you look at life differently, like more gratitude and like don't not sweating the small stuff. And also you can make basically design the way you want your life to look because a lot of people just out in la la land, just letting life happen to them. Oh, it hung up again. Let's see what's gonna happen. But yeah, before I hung up, I was saying that a lot of people just be off in la la land and going through their days, not no kind of awareness, no kind of gratitude. But when you have like a huge moment like that in your life, you most well not everyone, but it's good to like look at the positive and being grateful and shift the mindset to like I'm gonna create the reality I want. I'm gonna create the life I want because life is so fragile. So like
Yeah,
no point of sweating the small stuff. It ain't a big deal, and create the life that that the life that you want, you and your husband and your daughter. And so, with this experience, how did it? Did it? I can say force, but did you and your husband like grow like a tighter bond from this experience?
definitely. Because for one, so we got married during my chemo treatments, and hospital bills are piling up. So we didn't have a wedding. We went to the courthouse and literally signed the paper and went shopping at Old Navy afterwards. Like it was just any other day. I was like, okay, we got to get this done because he really wanted to put me on his medical insurance at the time. So we were making like big decisions because we were kind of forced to do at that time. He didn't have to,
Hmm.
but he knew like, no, let's do this. Like I want to marry you. I knew that I was gonna marry you this year, but if I got to do it sooner, then let's do it now. And so that was something that changed, and I just saw him in a whole new light. Like he normally has anxiety, and so in that moment, as a black woman, we're like, oh, we're gonna be strong. I'm gonna be strong. And so I would really try to be strong when I wasn't feeling well. And he's like, no, because I didn't want him to be anxious. I didn't want him to be afraid. Like I'm thinking about
Hmm.
everybody else but myself because I didn't want him to be afraid. I didn't want my daughter to be afraid. So I'm like, oh no, I'm fine. And he's like, no, like go lay down. I got this. I'll take care of her. I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't want him to take care of our 2 year old daughter, even though it's our daughter. Like I'm the mom. I need to do this. He's like,
Yeah.
no, I already made her breakfast. I already got her dressed. You go lay down. So that definitely like, I'm like, oh, this my husband then. Like I'm good. Like I love this man. Like I
My
know
man,
he
my
got
man, my
me,
man.
like I know that he has my back. We've been through so much together, but that right there really made me be like, okay, like we can make it through anything.
Hmm. That's what's up. And are you still there?
Oh, it keeps freezing. Oh, can you hear me?
There you go. But I was
Okay.
saying like that's what's up though. Like the thing, the idea that black women got to be strong all the time, like that's a belief system that was put on like our parents and grandparents and great grandparents, like years of like toxic,
Mm-hmm.
insane. Some stuff had to be done, but at the same time, who's gonna take care of you? If you've been the strong, who's gonna take care of you? And it's like
Exactly.
it's such a blessing that you're in a space and you have a partner that's like, hey, chill out. You don't got to put on your strong black
Mm-hmm.
woman shirt today. Like just take a nap, and I got this. So that's awesome.
Yes, he was, like I said, he definitely stepped up way more than expected, or way more than, like I said, I thought that this was going to be a hit for him emotionally, but he really put all that to the side and was like, nope, I got this. Like, I'm gonna hold it down. And yeah. I'm very grateful for that.
Cool, cool. So what about so now that you're in remission, do you go speak, or are you like open to speaking at like different treatment centers or like even on panels because you're young, you know, you had this battle, you overcame it, and now you can like help like a lot of people. So would you, is that something you'd be interested in doing, like, you know, moving forward, like speaking at panels and,
Yeah,
you know,
I
going to the
definitely would
hospitals
be
and talking to folks?
I definitely would be interested in that. I haven't done a panel, but my hospital that I was getting my treatments at, they have reached out to me for like speaking on video campaigns for their women's health center. So I
Mm-hmm.
actually recently just did that like 2 weeks ago. They came and recorded me, interviewed me about my story and about like the staff at the hospital. I was on News Channel 5 here during Breast Cancer Month last year in Nashville. So yeah, they've definitely been reaching out to me, but I'm open to all of it. I really am. Because I definitely want women, black women to know like, hey, this isn't just a older woman, white women, like, no, this can hit 30 and under. So I'm definitely open to telling my story.
Especially also like being an advocate for yourself because you went to the hospital and it was just like, oh, you know, even
Yep.
though it was a black woman doctor, but still it's still important no matter what, like to be an advocate, to be like, hey, you know, like check this out. Cause again, my sister, like she was having like headaches. Went to the doctor, they just kept sending her home, and
Mm-hmm.
then randomly one morning she was just not there. Like
Yeah.
kids finding her in the house like that. You know,
My
just like
gosh.
I'm like, what the hell, you know? And I mean, we're in upstate New York. We're in Syracuse, New York, and it's a
Okay.
huge gap of like wealth gap, and most of the
Mm-hmm.
people of color live like on the south side. It's other people in other areas, but overall, it's like if you, it's not like Nashville. Like when I first got to Nashville in 2010, I seen like thriving black people. I was like, man, this is nice, you know, compared to Memphis
Mm-hmm.
where I was raised, you know.
Yeah.
So up here reminds me a lot like how Memphis was.
Mm-hmm.
So she go, you know, go to the doctor, go to the hospital, like, oh, here, take this medication, you know, go back home, and then boom. So I'm just like, now it's super important for me to like talk to different people, like, hey, make sure you know you're an advocate. Speak up for yourself. If you feel off, go to the
You
doctor. You know,
have to.
if they not really taking you serious, go to a different one. And even, you know, as a black woman, so I didn't even know until I met my wife that like, so my cycles would be like really bad. I'm talking about
Mm-hmm.
I just want to sleep, and I'm, you know, it's bad. And before I was drinking all the time, so I didn't notice it. I wasn't aware of my body. So I got
Mm-hmm.
sober, and you know, bad cycles, and she's like, you know, that's not normal. I'm like, what do you mean it's not normal? Like this
Mm-hmm.
is how it's been. And this my sister go through it, my mama, you know, this is normal. So I finally go to the doctor. I'm telling them the symptoms, and they just write it off. Right, went to a different doctor. And he's like, "Oh, you might have endometriosis. Let's try to get you checked out for it." So I go to another doctor while I'm waiting for the referral to go through, and the other doctor's like, "Oh, just take some birth control and maybe a help." And I'm like, "Man, this is gonna drive me crazy. Like I don't want to be all super moody for no reason."
Right.
So I go back some months later. I'm like, hey, I took a few, but it had me too moody. I don't like it. I want y'all to just go in to see what's going down and what's going
Mm-hmm.
on. And finally, I got this, you know, procedure done, and it was endometriosis, which
Mm-hmm.
is like I'm not sure if people know, but it's what is it? It's like lesions like inside your uterus. It can be on your
Mm-hmm.
ovaries, um, even on my intestines. Like it was like small lesions, and they went and cauterized some of it out, but and it was like, oh, it can come back. So I recommend you taking this medication. Another hormone
Mm-hmm.
pill or whatever to balance it. I'm like, no, I'm not about to be going crazy. So I'm just gonna do my research. Maybe you know, if I eat better, you know, have you know, more exercise, and I don't know, what can I change up holistically to avoid taking this dang on pill that's gonna have me going crazy because again, hormone balance to avoid the lesions coming back. But anyway, it's a whole rant.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's just like I was wrote off. Like, oh, take this, take this. I'm like, nah, like
Yeah.
go see what's going on. And the whole time it was endometriosis and fibroids. So it's not normal though. But to them, oh, it's
It's
normal.
and like you probably been living like you said, living with that all your life until you finally went and was like, no, like I need somebody. And that's crazy that they just black women, they just like, y'all'll be all right. Here, take this Tylenol, you'll be all right. And like now, like you said, we've ingrained that in ourselves. Like when I first found the lump, I was like, oh, I'm just taking some Tylenol. It'll be okay. You know, it's just a little whatever. It's nothing serious. But it's like, what would have happened had I just like let it go on for a month, 2 months, or it could have got worse. So when
Mm-hmm.
I did go, like I said, it was only stage one. So I'm grateful for that. It didn't go anywhere else. It was in that one centralized area. They were able to remove all of it. The chemo did exactly what it was supposed to do. But my mom, another strong black woman, waited 2, 3 months, and she was stage three at the time. Luckily, she was
Mm.
still able to beat it. So she's doing perfectly fine now. She's in remission herself. But yeah, it's like we gotta stop writing it off, and we gotta stop letting the doctors write us off. Like, we have to, okay, you know what, you don't want to do it, I'll go find somebody else. Like,
Mm-hmm.
get on their nerves if you have to, because it's not normal. The pain that you have to live with is not normal.
Yeah, nothing should be hurting at all.
Exactly.
And also like doing our own research. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is what my body is doing. This is not normal. Like just being
Right.
aware of our own bodies.
Yeah,
But
come to them with questions. Like, doctors really aren't used to us asking them questions either. Like, hey, like, I looked this up. Like, is this what I could possibly have? Like, and they're confused. And so,
mm-hmm.
like, it's like, yeah, like, do your research, ask them questions, put those degrees that they have to the test. Like, no, you gonna work for this.
Exactly. But again, this is just what people used to. It's what we've been doing all these years. So now it's like, I feel like our generation is our responsibility to like help the people behind us. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
make sure you check in with your body, check in with your mental health, rewire your thought patterns. Like, how do you talk to
Yeah.
yourself? Are you speaking kind to yourself? Speak to yourself like you would speak to your child or speak to your
Mm-hmm.
loved one. Do the same thing to yourself. But
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I can go on
If
the whole
you show up
tangent,
for
but I ain't gonna
everybody
do it.
else, show up for yourself.
And also make sure like your circle, the people around you can
Mm-hmm.
show up for you too. So,
Mm-hmm. Yes,
but
I agree.
this is an amazing episode, and thank you for sharing and being, open and honest about your journey and where you at. And hopefully, someone can, hear this and be like, oh, let me hit up Nakia to ask her about some stuff, because you never know what people going through or if they have someone to reach out to. So it's nice being an advocate.
I'm always
Uh,
open. I'm always open to questions.
is it okay if I put your YouTube link in the show notes? If someone asks me like, oh,
Yes,
where can I
yes,
find her?
I will send that to you. Yes, you can definitely do that.
Okay, cool. Well, that wraps it up, y'all. Thank you again. And I'll see y'all on the next episode of Room for a Podcast.